Do you want to start a conspiracy, chat? Let's start a conspiracy theory. Trump is lying about his birth certificate. He's not from New York. He's from Ohio.
Get myself in a little trouble.
This is a guy that started out his career wearing bow ties. Don't tell me about a fussy little man.
Do you think Epstein killed himself? Do you think we're moving towards civil war? Mr. President, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Why aren't you at the Fox News debate tonight in Milwaukee?
Well, you know, a lot of people have been asking me that, and many people said you shouldn't do them, but you see the polls have come out, and I'm leading by 50 and 60 points. And, you know, some of them are at 1 and 0 and 2. And I'm saying, do I sit there for an hour or 2 hours, whatever it's going to be, and get harassed by people that shouldn't even be running for president? Should I be doing that?
He's acting like a streamer. This reminds me of like, he's going to get harassed. He's going to get harassed. Like they're going to send harassment. They're going to send hate my way. And I just don't need that. Like he's acting like a streamer.
And a network that isn't particularly friendly to me, frankly. You know, they...
Wait, so it's a Fox News sponsored thing. Maybe that's why Twitch is
They were backing Ron
worried.
DeSanctimonious like crazy, and now they've given up on him. I mean, it's a lost cause. It reminded me very much of 2016. I just felt it would be more appropriate not to do the debate. I don't think it's right to do it. If you're leading by 50, 60, I have one poll, I'm leading by 70 points, and I'm saying, why am I doing it? And I'm going to have 8 people, 10 people, whoever made the debate, I don't know how many it is, but I'm going to have all these people screaming at me, shouting questions at me, all of which I love answering, I love doing, but it doesn't make sense to do them. So I've taken a pass, as you probably noticed.
I did. He's taken a pass. Make sure you understand that's what he said. He's not saying he's taking anything else. He's taking a pass.
I'm grateful that you did.
Trump is basically the original streamer. So many streamers have stolen his tactics. Yeah, I always talk about this with Vosh.
It's interesting.
But it's not just Vosh.
No, because you spent a lot of your career...
It's Chud Logic, too.
...in television.
Yeah.
You had a top show in television on NBC.
I think it was a terrible move getting rid of you. You were #1 on television, and all of a sudden we're doing this interview, but we'll get bigger ratings using this crazy forum.
You will always get bigger ratings using this crazy forum, right? Because this forum actually gives you views for people that are scrolling by you and that have no interest in watching you. They see Donald Trump, they see Tucker Carlson, and they hit the scroll bar. But guess what? They tarried like 1 second too long. And therefore, you know, they're counting as a view, right? Yeah, you will get more views because these views aren't real.
On stage, you shouldn't be running for president. Who do you mean?
Well, I don't want to really use names, but it wouldn't matter too much. A guy like, I call him Ada Hutchinson.
I call him Ada Hutchinson. Why? What is the joke? Anybody want to enlighten me? Like AD, Americans with Disabilities Act?
It's Asa, but I call him Ada.
Why do you call him Ada?
I could tell you.
I think it's you're saying something ableist about him. I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't want to get myself in a little trouble.
Like and subscribe. Oh, Trump.
But he's weak and pathetic. And
oh,
he
no. Oh, God. Okay. Yeah.
I still think I never knew him.
Yeah, no, I was right.
He was the governor of Arkansas. Not a very popular guy. I don't know how but that state is such a great state. The people are so incredible in that state, and they love me and I love them.
Ada and little Rhonda.
How does this guy get elected governor of Arkansas? But he's nasty always and has been.
But I've heard it is true.
A guy like Chris Christie, the guy left with a 8%, think of it, 8% approval rating in New Jersey. Now he's running for president. And he runs solely on the basis, let's get Trump. He's like a
Trump.
Savage maniac. He's like a lunatic. And that's all he talks about. His poll numbers are very, very low. He's about 2%.
What's he like? You know him well.
No, I've been friendly with him over the years, but
oh my God, fat phobia incoming. Are you ready? So we got ableism with Ada Hutchinson. Now we're gonna get fat phobia, I'm guessing, with Christie.
Give him a job because I just never trusted him very much. I was just never one of his people that really trusted him. I never gave him the job, and that's one of the reasons he feels so hurt and so betrayed. And I understand that. I really do. I understand it. But I never gave him. You know, he wanted to be different things. He was looking at different elements of the administration. And I decided I didn't want to do it. And now I'm glad I did because you see. But, you know, we had some great people. I had great people. We'll have even better people if we do.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, right? But Christie is not like a 100% never Trumper. He was against Trump, I think, in the beginning, like, you know, when he was like running for president in 2016 in the primary, right? I think he supported him, when during the general election and maybe for part of his administration too, but at some point, Chris Christie, maybe like I feel like Trump fired first. I feel like Trump made fat jokes about Chris Christie. I feel like I remember him doing this like on stage, like, right, bringing him up, like, supposedly to, do, campaigning together and then making fun of Chris Christie's weight.
This because now I know Washington. Before I didn't know Washington, but guys like Bill Barr were terrible. I mean, they were, I would say, Bushies. I say that with respect to the Bush family,
as opposed to Trumpies.
But they were Bushies, and
you have no respect for the Bush family. Come on,
it doesn't work out for us.
It was clear. This is kind of far afield, but it was just interesting. I read Barr's account of his time. He wrote a book about it,
right?
His autobiography, and in it he lies about Jeffrey Epstein's death. Clearly lies. Do you think Epstein killed himself sincerely?
I don't know. I will say that, he was a fixture in Palm Beach.
I will say that if he didn't, that maybe Trump, like, that might be an uncomfortable question, right? Trump would be one of the people that had a lot to gain from Epstein losing his life before he could have talked, right? Trump definitely had a history with Epstein, and one wonders, like, to what extent that was. He went to the, I'm pretty sure he was on the, wait, I want to be out of turn in here, but was he on those flight logs? I feel like he was.
I don't know what Barr.
But I mean, even if he wasn't, he was definitely, he's been seen at parties. Like, he was a close friend of Epstein.
Said about it either.
Seems.
I have no idea what he said. What did he say? He killed himself, probably?
He said he killed himself.
Yo,
and they were going to do this
he sounds super suspicious.
They never did the investigation. It's never been public.
Well,
and they hid it. And, like, why are they doing that? And clearly Barr knew. But why would Bill Barr be covering up the death of Jeffrey Epstein?
Bill Barr didn't do an investigation on the election fraud either, okay? He said he did, and he pretended he did, but he didn't. McSwain, the U.S. attorney in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, said Barr just wouldn't let him do it. It was crazy. Barr became so petrified, so frightened of being impeached. They were going to impeach him. I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah.
It's not a big moment in history. But they said, we're going to impeach. They play a much rougher game, the left, the lunatics.
Oh, yeah.
And they were going to impeach.
Yeah, totally play a much rougher game. That's why the left were the ones to refuse to even hold a vote on a judicial nomination. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. That was the Republicans, right? The left really play hard.
Impeach Bill Barr, and he was petrified. Now, how do you not get impeached? Don't do any of this stuff. But he didn't do the job there. I don't know what he did with Epstein, but possibly he didn't.
Do you think it's possible that Epstein was killed?
Oh, sure, it's possible. I mean, I don't really believe. I think he probably.
I feel like Trump really doesn't want to talk about Epstein for some reason.
Probably
call it a hunch.
Committed suicide. He had a life with beautiful homes and beautiful everything, and he all of a sudden he's incarcerated and not doing very well. I would say that he did. But there are those people, there are many people, I think you're one of them, right? But a lot of people think that he was killed. He knew a lot on a lot of people.
He was killed.
You think so?
I think the closer you look, I'm not a conspiracy person at all. I believe everything I hear.
Now that right there is a smoking gun. That is a statement that a lot of Republicans are going to disagree with, right? He's really undermining his brand. And one wonders why he feels the need to do this.
But
he's squirming. Yeah.
The closer you look,
beautiful. He had a beautiful house, beautiful wife, beautiful everything. Ghislaine Maxwell, bringing him victims, like, and then it got all taken away from him. And so of course, he did it to himself. And there's no particular reason why the footage from the security cameras in his cell was missing.
Get into it. I mean, the Attorney General of the United States, your Attorney General, clearly lied about the Epstein death.
Yeah,
and
he was.
Why?
He was certainly. It wasn't well done. They had no cameras. They had no anything. Everybody was sleeping, and
certainly it wasn't well done.
A case could be made. Look, I'm not going to get involved in it, but I can tell you.
Were you involved in it, though? His face is turning red.
A case could be made either way, but
Oh my God, did this guy do Epstein?
It wasn't the most well-run place.
So the reason I'm asking you is I'm looking at the trajectory since 2015 when you got into politics, for real, and then won. It started with protests against you, massive protests, organized protests by the left, and then it moved to impeachment twice.
Oh, wait. Here's some lore that I got to drop on you. This is important, okay? I'm not just stun locking because I'm no comment chicken. I always stun lock. I'm stun locking for a very good reason here. These guys don't actually like each other. They're going to be friendly to each other in public, but they don't like each other. Tucker is on the record just roasting Trump, just absolutely hating his guts, right? And Trump's got to know that. But like you haven't seen any public breakup between them, but you have seen in messages that were released from Fox News him kind of him wishing that Trump would disappear from the news cycle. Like he wants Trump out. He wants Trump gone. He wants Trump impeached. I mean, for all I know. So this is, this might be Tucker purposefully asking him some very uncomfortable questions, right? Now, I don't have any secret knowledge. I don't know the Epstein thing is sus as fuck, okay? Extremely sus, but there's so many suspects. There's so many people that were tied to Epstein that Epstein might have something on that it's literally like looking around the Roman Senate and trying to figure out who killed Caesar, right? Oh my God. I'm comparing Epstein to Caesar. Anyway, right. This is, it's really hard to know. And I don't have any special knowledge about this. I'm just saying that he looks suspicious and there's reason to suspect him. That's all.
Right.
And now indictment. I mean, the next stage is violence. Are you worried that they're going to try and kill you? Why wouldn't they try and kill you, honestly?
They're savage animals. They are people that are sick, really sick. You have great people in the Democrat Party. You have great people that are Democrats. Most of the people in our country are fantastic, and I'm representing everybody. I'm not just Republicans or conservatives. I represent everybody. I'm the president of everybody. But I've seen what they do.
Donald Trump, president of everybody.
I've seen the lengths that they go to when they make up the Russia. When that's exposed.
I mean, all these people are fake.
They go down, and Barr should have gone after them, and other people should have gone after. And they did very late because the Durham report came out. It was fairly good. It could have been a lot tougher, I guess, but it was fairly good. But it explained how corrupt it was. I'll tell you who did a great job was the Inspector General Horowitz. He did a phenomenal report. You didn't have to go to Durham. He did it on Comey and on, I guess, McCabe and some others. And it was a vicious, it was basically a true report, how bad they are. But these people are sick people. These are people that I think they hate our country. You want to know the truth. When you see open borders, when you see...
Okay, so about the Comey thing, in general, law enforcement, including federal law enforcement, they try not to rock the boat when it's general election time. They really don't want to be perceived as like handing it to one candidate or handing it to another. But I mean, that's a lot of pressure, right? And Comey did some weird shit where he issued a report on Hillary Clinton in terms of the emails, the server and all that stuff like that. And he didn't find any like real culpability or fault or certainly like legal exposure for Hillary Clinton, but he kind of like chastised her so that he would sound like he was playing right down the middle. That's what he was trying to do. And that doesn't play right down the middle, right? In a very close election, you are in danger of looking like you do something that is favorable for the Republican candidate there, right? And my understanding is that some of the investigation that went on afterwards was to try to, like, everything that Comey is like the kid that gets in the car and they start to go over into the other lane. And the parent is like, no, you like steer away from that, steer back. And they start to go off into the ditch. And like, no, steer left. And they, you know what I mean? They can't keep it between the lines, right? That was Comey's whole problem. He's constantly overcorrecting.
See these policies that they have and so many other things. It's so sad to see. We have a country that's very fragile right now. I've never seen, I will say, look, I ran in 16, which was 15, but I ran in 16, election in 16, and there was tremendous spirit. In 20, there was even more spirit. We got millions and millions more votes. You know, it wasn't even a contest.
You had mail-in votes available because of the pandemic. That's why you got more votes. That's also why Biden got more votes, right? Quit trying to make it like mysteriously, like, you know, like, I don't know. They want to.
Said, well, what'd you think of 20? I said,
We'll see if we get any election denial tonight.
we did much better. We did.
I feel like he'd be better to get off of it because there's like a sore loser effect. There really is. Okay. Like as much as this like ignites his base and, you know, there's still a big part of the base that feels like he somehow won or the election didn't go right or there was like, you know, interference or malfeasance or something, you know, went on that was untoward. It's not a popular and it is not a good like place to put yourself in where you're constantly like a sore loser, where you're and also what does that do for you're running in 2024, right? If they stole it in 2020, what makes you think they're not going to, you know what I mean? If you start to think that the election is not decided by the number of voters, but it's decided by seedy forces somewhere and the Democrats are just cooking the books, then why are you even voting? Why do you even need to vote, right? Anyway, it's a bad idea for like a lot of reasons. I would expect Trump at some point to back off of the election denialism because I think it like that legit could be the reason that he loses, right? That sore loser effect.
Got to base it on the number of votes. We got many more votes in 20 than we did in 16. But the election was rigged. It was a rigged election.
Oh, nope. I'm wrong. He has no political instincts whatsoever.
But
you can't tell this guy anything.
And with COVID,
you know that his political people want him off of that topic. Well, they want him off of that topic.
Use COVID to cheat in a lot of different things.
You can't do it though. You can't get him off of it.
And we have so much on it. It's like so easy. But we had judges that didn't want to look. We had people didn't.
All the judges everywhere. Like just
want to get involved.
You did talk to a lot of judges, right? If there was something there that could be shown in court, you would think that there would have been some kind of something, right? And there wasn't. Every single one of them told you where you could shove your complaints. And these were Trump judges too.
He's a conspiracy theorist, if you say.
No, you're literally saying that every single judge out there was in on it, dude. That's a conspiracy. You're a conspiracy theorist. I don't know what
think about the election, but I have never seen spirit like there is right now. Even coming down here, just the people on the road.
What about the spirit at your indictments, right? What about the lack of protest, lack of anyone caring or noticing? You see a lot of spirit there?
That are just absolutely going crazy. And the reason is, I think they like me, and I know they love my policies. I hope they like me too. You know, a lot of people say they don't like me, but they like my policies. I think they like me. But I have never seen spirit like it is right now. And the reason is because crooked Joe Biden is so bad. He's the worst president in the history.
But you used that one. You already used that one.
Of our country. I don't think he's going to make it to the gate, but, you know, you never know. But he's a corrupt person.
I don't think he's going to make it to the gate. You think he's going to not survive until the election?
And so corrupt that I took the name off Hillary. You know, I don't do two people at one time. I took the crook.
What the? Okay, you don't even have to mention that. We know that you took that from Hillary. Like and subscribe.
At Hillary. And
when are the Orange Man mugshots? Supposedly tomorrow. Supposedly that is going to happen for the first time tomorrow, that he'll actually be booked the way, you know, that we're used to thinking about booking, and that would include some presidential mugshots, which no doubt will be turned into NFTs.
Made it. I retired the name. That was a good day for her. I bet she was very happy. And I used it for Joe because it's Crooked Joe. But Joe is really...
But you don't think he's going to make it to November of 24?
Well, I think he's worse mentally than he is physically. And physically, he's not exactly a triathlete or any kind of an athlete. You look at him, he can't walk to the helicopter. He walks. He can't lift his feet out of the grass. You know, it's only 2 inches at the White House, right? That's not a lot. But you watch him, and it looks like he's walking on toothpicks. So,
maybe he's walking on toothpicks. Yo, there's a conspiracy theory. Joe Biden, toothpicks for legs.
Can you see him in the
Joe Biden is actually made of gumdrops and toothpicks. It's just that the liberal media won't report the facts straight. But he's not a human. That's not really Joe Biden. Joe Biden is buried. But there's this like Biden clone that's made out of toothpicks and gumdrops that is in his place, and they just won't call it out.
where he can't lift a chair?
We got Rudy mugshots. Oh, nice. Should we look at those?
You know, those chairs are meant to be light, right?
We should be watching the debate. I want to be watching the debate. Apparently, I'll get in trouble if I watch the debate.
They're like
Popsicle sticks.
2 ounces.
Yeah.
You lift him up. He can't lift the chair. He can't walk to the chair. And I don't know what they're doing with the beach. You know, this beach
Wait, isn't this the guy that couldn't drink water?
seemed to play a big role, but they love pictures of him on the beach. I think he looks terrible on the
It's not like he's the picture of health either, right?
beach. He looks terrible on the beach.
Skinny legs.
Well, he can't walk through the sand.
He can't surf.
You know, sand is not that easy to walk through, but when he walks through it, he can't walk through the sand.
Can you? When is the last time? What's up, Gorpsink? Gorpsink, can you help me out with this? When's the last time that Donald Trump has been to the beach? I'm trying to remember. I cannot picture Donald Trump at the beach. I can picture him at the golf course, right? And he's got a mysterious brown stain on his khakis. I don't know what that's from, but maybe it's mud. Maybe he slipped and fell in the mud.
And there's somebody in there that thinks he looks fabulous at the beach. I think he looks horrible at the beach.
The pond at the... Yeah, you're right. They do usually... Wait, no, am I thinking of the sand trap? I know golf, right? Golf has a sand trap, right? It's not like they don't have like a beach. That would be cool. They should have that, right? Golf would be so much more fun if you could just like kind of go to the beach while you're playing golf. I gotta admit, okay, golf could be fun, but I think golf is boring, and I suck at it. You should never take me to any golf course, right? Because you're going to be spending a lot of time watching me chase down the ball because I'm not very good at hitting it. But like, if you could just take a little break in the middle of your golf game and kind of like go to the beach, pet a crocodile, like that's the kind of golf that I want to play. That's the kind of golf that I need. Or if they could make it like more like roller derby with golf clubs and crocodiles or alligator. They're alligators, right? Golf with your
the
friends.
Beach doesn't represent what a president's supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be working.
There's ponds there, but I don't think that. I think there's sand that's separate, right? The sand is a separate obstacle. The water is a hazard. The water is an obstacle. The water is a place that I am likely to hit the ball. So is the sand. The sand is definitely a place I could see myself hitting the ball because, like I said, I really suck at this game. I'm a little bit better at mini golf, though.
Supposed to be getting
Not much, though.
Out of that horrible war that we're very much involved in with Russia and
Russia.
Ukraine. You could do that.
Russia.
You could do that very easily. I believe you could do that I don't believe he could do it
Yeah, there's sand traps and ponds at most courses, but they're separate, right?
because he's just incompetent. But that's a
Wait,
war.
people are watching it right now and they're fine? Hassan said...
That should end immediately.
What about Hassan? Is Hassan watching it?
Not because of one side
I'm like
or the
literally like advertising for other streamers as we speak. I'm so bad at this. And I'm also bad at reminding you about the top of the hour ad break, which actually, no, ad starts in 20 seconds. It's just about to happen. I'm so bad about it. To tell you that you can get a free Amazon Twitch Prime if you have Prime, and you can pay $5 to get out of it, or you could be gifted a sub, possibly, if you're lucky, and if you're active in chat. That's what I should be telling you, but instead, I'm waiting until 3 seconds, 1 second. There's the ad break. There's the ad break. All right.
Because hundreds of thousands of people are being killed. Can you imagine you're in an apartment house and rockets are going into that building and blowing it up and knocking it down? And why should anybody, human beings, these are human, whether they're Russian or Ukrainian or whatever they are, if I were president, it would have never started.
So back to Biden, I'm interested. So you think he's failing? He obviously is failing. I think it's clear to everybody. But that would make Kamala Harris the candidate?
Well, not really. I mean, I guess they'd have maybe a free-for-all. A lot of people say she has to remain for certain reasons the candidate. She has to. I don't think that's true, actually. I don't think that other people would stand for it. She has...
So he's talking about Biden biting the big one. Biden's going to bite the bullet, says Trump, right? Biden is he's gonna buy the farm. That's what Trump is telling us. Could anybody else get away with just wistfully speculating on the death of your opponent the way that he does?
He has to remain, for certain reasons, the candidate incompetent.
There's a lot he's not saying.
That should end immediately, not because of one side or the other, because hundreds of thousands of people are being killed. Can you imagine you're in an apartment house and rockets are going into that building and blowing it up and knocking it down?
It's so weird how he's trying highlights of the evening so far. So far, we're watching Trump debate Tucker, although it's kind of a secret debate. They're supposed to be friends. They're definitely not friends, though. They're frenemies at best. So we're gonna watch them first and then try to play it safe and not get banned.
Who can
by hate watchers?
Why should
who may or may not be watching right now? Hi, hate watchers. How's it going? Thank you for boosting my numbers.
Anything? Why should anybody, human beings, these are human, whether they're Russian or Ukrainian or whatever they are, it's got to be stopped, and it can be stopped.
They're using each other. It's part of the business. Yeah, it's like Twitch politics.
Easily. She would have never started.
Which one of them is Trisha Paytas? Definitely Trump.
If I were president, it would have never started.
So that makes Tucker Ethan.
Back to Biden, I'm interested. So you think he's failing? He obviously is failing. I think it's clear to everybody. But that would make Kamala Harris the candidate?
Well, not really. I mean, I guess they'd have...
Wait, you think he's failing? What does he mean by
maybe
that?
A free-for-all. A lot of people say she has to remain for certain reasons.
Okay, so maybe he's not speculating about Biden buying the farm. Maybe we're talking about Biden withdrawing? The only way that would happen is if something happened with Biden's health.
She has
Which
to.
might happen. Also might happen with Trump's health, right?
True, actually. I don't think that other people would stand for it. She has some bad moments. Her moments are almost as bad as his. I think his are worse, actually.
Yeah.
But
she seems pretty senile, too.
She speaks in rhyme. It's weird.
Okay, are either of these things true? Can somebody confirm or deny that? Is this true? Kamala Harris speaks in rhymes? Senile? Where are you getting this?
It's weird, but she has bad moments. And
in rhyme?
Isn't she like 50?
What do you...
Well, the way she talks, the bus will go here and then the bus will go there because that's what buses do.
That's not a rhyme.
It's weird.
You're worse than Ramaswamy.
I say my name's Vivek. It rhymes with cake. It ain't about thee. It isn't about me. It is about thee. The United States is about liberty. So Fox and friends, join us on the trail. We'll have some fun. I'll see you out the trail.
The whole thing is weird. This is not a president of the United States future. And
we need a Dr. Seuss president.
I think they probably...
Is he confusing Kamala with Ice Spice? Yeah, I don't know. Sounds like he's describing a sorcerer.
They have some kind of a
bus will go over here and then the bus will go over there. That actually sounds like a Vivek Ramaswamy bar, but he's not delivering it correctly, right?
Primary and other people will get involved.
She speaks in complete sentences.
Right? I mean, could be. I mean,
that's weird. What's up with those complete sentences?
Get along well with him, believe it or not, but could be him, could be somebody else. He's got a big load on his shoulders because you look at California, what's happened.
Wait, who's he?
A big load on his shoulders because you
who's
look.
He talking about?
I think they probably have some kind of a primary, and other people.
Her best bar, Don't Come,
will get involved.
Newsom, right? I mean,
that was her hook, right? On the first album, Don't Come.
Yeah, I mean, I always got along well with him, believe it or not, but could be him, could be somebody else.
Putin? Wait,
it's weird.
I missed it again.
The whole thing is weird. This is not a president of the United States future. And I think they probably have some kind of a primary, and other people will get involved.
Newsom, right? I mean,
that's
Newsom. Okay.
It could be. I mean, I always got along well with him, believe it or not. But could be him, could be somebody else. He's got a big load on his shoulders because you look at California, what's happened. But I don't know if the American people really, the people that vote for him, I don't even know if they care. You look at so many of the things that are going on, and people don't seem to be. In the old days, if you had a bad record, it meant a lot. Today, if you have a bad record, it doesn't really mean anything. He looks.
What about your record, right? Everything that you've touched in your life has literally turned to shit. You really want to talk about records? Like, this guy could not run a casino. right? You know, the business where the house always wins. This guy lost money on casinos.
Good. He's a nice looking guy, speaks well. But Biden, every time you watch him talking, it's like he's walking on eggs. You're waiting for him to collapse.
People are taking the name Trump off their building right now because they don't want to be associated. You've even ruined your brand.
And he almost always does. And I got to know the
He's got over 70 indictments now. Nice.
leaders of all of the countries, essentially, but the big ones.
The big countries.
And the bigger, the tougher the leader. You know, it's like sort
The
of,
bigger the country, the tougher the leader. Yeah, I've heard that too.
I guess maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. But I got to know President Xi of China and Putin and Kim Jong-un, North Korea. Did a great job with North Korea, kept us out of a nuclear war. We would have 40,000 dead soldiers right now. They'd drop a nuke.
I still don't understand him kissing Kim Jong-un's ass the way he did.
Right on top of the military base. But we have 40,000 soldiers over there. And I did great. I got
I don't know.
along with them great. It was a good. That's a positive. You know,
For some reason, I get along with authoritarian figures so easily.
He
Just have a
said
lot
nice
in
things about
common somehow.
Kim Jong-un. I also said horrible things
Australia and Canada are also big nations.
at the beginning. Horrible enough that he wanted to talk. And we talked and we met in Singapore. We met actually twice. And we had unbelievable meetings. I know him very well. We were in great shape with him.
What do you think he and Xi and Putin think of Biden?
I think they can't believe it. I think they
Chances he sees jail time.
probably say this is some kind of a system. You know, they had great respect for our country. They respected me. They had great respect for our country when I was there.
I mean, look, there is a way that he could stay out of jail, okay? There's several ways that he could stay out of jail. Let's talk about that, because actually him spending some time in jail, somewhat likely, right? Now, understand that if he goes to jail but continues to run for president and the MAGAs continue to support him, he will run for president. If he wins the vote, he will be president in jail. And then we get to find out what the Supreme Court thinks of the idea of a president pardoning himself from jail. Do they think is that constitutional? I don't know. You'll have to ask the conservative majority Supreme Court what they think of that. So I mean, there's a path to him staying out of jail. There is a path that says that he puts the cases off long enough successfully to where none of them really get started until the election, and then they feel like they have to kind of like move it past the election at that point because it would be too, interfere-y, right? And then there's what else is there? Okay, one other possibility for him staying out of jail, right? And this is a long shot. I don't know if this would work, but it's not inconceivable that some kind of a settlement would be worked out, and that part of the settlement would be that this guy does not run for president in 2024 or ever again. That's possible. That's conceivable. But then again, that if that happens, that gets him out of one case, right? I don't see like the that's a token he can only sell once. So I don't know if that could happen and affect all of the cases. I don't think there's any way for that to happen. But yeah, there's a decent chance of him, if not like going to jail, at the very least being so beset with legal problems that he doesn't run. I don't think there's any way he could make a deal where he can't run for president. That would be a political nightmare. I don't know. Like, that's the kind of thing that, like, a lot of times countries that are a country trying to avoid a constitutional crisis might actually put into play, because there's not a lot of ways to like split the difference there, right? And if you're thinking that there is an institutional interest in not doing anything that's going to rock the boat too much, you're right. The court responds to politics, right? The judges are people, and they are pressured, if not like directly, like with the Supreme Court, then at the very least, like through the political realities of, the consequences of their actions and how it's going to be perceived historically and stuff like that.
Every one of them. Look, if you go to North Korea, you take a look at what happened. You know, the Olympics was dead. South Korea spent billions on the Olympics. Nobody was going to go. They didn't want to get blown up. They called me and they said, we are going to let the Olympics proceed. This is North Korea. I said, you should go into the Olympics. Put your athletes in. It wasn't like, they were big on athletes because,
Famine.
But they went in and they actually participated. And within about 2 days, the entire thing was sold out. And if it wasn't me, that would have never happened. But I got along very well with him, and that's a positive thing. He does have massive.
I'm not sure if that's true, right? In general, there is a lot of diplomacy and a lot of discussion that goes on between North Korea and South Korea. So, my inclination is that bilateral relationship is more likely to affect North Korea's stance on the Olympic Games than. And this dude's also a famous liar, right? If you listen to this guy, if you believe this guy, he has gotten an uncanny amount of holes in one in golf. And that is for one reason and one reason only, because he cheats. He loves to cheat at golf. Right? He will literally fake like a hole in one. There's another thing that he has in common with, is it Kim Jong-un that has the whole thing of bowled 300 game in bowling and, all these ridiculous sports feats that are nearly impossible that supposedly, is it Kim Jong-un or was it his dad?
Nuclear power.
Was it Kim Sr.?
And if Hillary would have gotten in, or if the Obama thought process continued, it would have been a nuclear war, absolutely, with North Korea. He was expecting to go into a war, and it would have been a nuclear war.
So do you think the rest of the world looks on at Biden and thinks someone else has got to be running the government?
It was Kim Jong-un?
Well, somebody else has to be. I don't think he's capable of doing anything. Look, when I debated him, I said, how come, and this was in front of probably not a friend of yours, Chris Wallace. He was the moderator.
Not a friend.
I said, why is it? He wants
not a friend
to be Mike, but he doesn't have the talent. It's one of those
bitchy little man.
He wanted to be
some would say that about you, Tucker.
his father, but he didn't have the talent of his father. Was great. His father,
little fussy man.
His father.
This is a guy that started out his career wearing bow ties. Don't tell me about a fussy little man.
Interviewed.
I guess he's tall, right? Look at this guy. Yeah, he's not. I guess he's not a little man, but isn't he 6'4" or something? Or am I thinking of James O'Keefe? Who's the one that's tall? Is Tucker tall? Tucker was fired from CNN he was with CNN. Oh yeah. So if you've ever seen the classic clip of Jon Stewart actually going on one of those cable debate shows and defeating everyone, that was on CNN, and I think Tucker co-hosted that show. I think Tucker was one of the people that Jon Stewart was telling off.
60 Minutes.
And it literally ended the show. They pulled the plug on the show.
It was actually a 10. Can you believe it?
No, I totally. His father had talent, at least.
I may have been the only guy that he gave a good 60 minutes to. He was rough.
Really?
His father was.
Tucker's 6'1", so I'm not entirely off base there.
He was great, though. He was great at what he did. But Chris Wallace was so upset. He was guarding this guy who wouldn't do a show, by the way. He wouldn't do. I figured.
Guarding? Are we playing basketball now? What's going on?
Chris Wallace because Biden wouldn't do a show, and it was very obvious. He kept asking him and asking, but he wouldn't do the show. So
wouldn't do a show? What kind of show? Are we talking about Biden walking out with a shiny top hat and a cane and doing that jazz hands thing? Is that, what kind of show are we? A vaudeville show? That would be great. Biden should totally do a vaudeville show.
He's got to
He could make it about corn pop.
But he came from a different planet.
And then he could have ice cream after.
Remember when I asked the question, why is it that the mayor of Moscow's wife is allowed to give you $3.5 million? Don't forget, that was brought up. Now it's brought up all the time, but that was brought up by me long before anyone ever heard of it. I said, the mayor of Moscow's wife giving you $3.5 million. What did you do to deserve $3.5 million?
Trump, do you want us to talk about the foreign dignitaries who stayed in your hotel while you were president? Do you want to talk about your kids? and their financial relationships, like any of this stuff that they get into, when it comes to going after Joe Biden as corrupt or Hunter Biden or, whatever kind of story they want to tell, you can find a much more egregious version of that with Trump and his family. Yeah, what about the emoluments?
And Chris Wallace said, this has nothing to do with the debate. I mean, he
got $2 billion to Jared. Was that in Saudi Arabia? $2 billion. That's enough to fund Ukraine army for half a year.
The way of the question.
No, it was crazy. And I said, well, wait a minute. He got $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife. Now, people forget that, but if you go back and take a look, you will see. And Chris Wallace didn't want me to ask that question. I said, I think it's a very appropriate question. It turned out to be much more appropriate than people thought.
Amazing. So do you...
Amazing. It's almost like if you tell a lie enough times, it kind of like becomes the truth.
Have a preference in, assuming you're the Republican nominee and all goes as you plan it to go, do you have a preference in who you run against?
In many ways, I'd love to run against him because his record's so bad. It's still...
How about Al Gore? Bring him out of retirement and let's run Al Gore against Trump.
Horrible when you look at inflation and everything else, but others also have very bad records. I mean, California's a bad record, so, should it be Gavin or should it be somebody else? When I look at San Francisco, what's happened to that incredible city? That was one of the greatest cities in the world just a short while ago, and now it's very sad when you look at it. Los Angeles, every city practically, all the Democrat-run cities. Republican-run cities are doing very nicely because they arrest people when you have crimes. And they don't go after political candidates because they think it's good. It's been amazing. My poll numbers are the highest I've ever had. But because people understand it.
Can I just ask you, that
Yes.
gets back to my original question. So if the protest didn't work, you got elected anyway. Yeah. Impeachment didn't work twice, obviously. Indictment is not working. Your poll numbers go up. When they raided Mar-a-Lago in August of last year, your numbers went up. They can indict you 20 times, and you're not gonna lose the Republican primary because of that.
Well, so it makes it look even more ridiculous. I mean,
Why would the goal be making you lose the Republican primary? What about the general election, which you're losing ground on, in which 64% of the American people say they would probably not vote for you? That's 64% out the gate. That either will definitely or probably not vote for you, right? That's not a great position to be in. I know that Biden's got a high disapproval too. It's weird the way that elections work, right? Because if you look back to 2016, you had a famously bad candidate in Donald Trump, a just absolute train wreck of a candidate, win against a unbelievably uncharismatic and ill instinct Democratic establishment choice who essentially, had next, as far as seniority goes in the Democratic Party. It was really a question of seniority, like, whose turn is it? And it was Hillary's turn, right? But you always have these situations where one of the candidates is just really bad. And, Trump, historically bad candidate, right? And you find the person that can lose to that person. You find the Hillary Clinton. The Hillary Clinton's a black swan as far as bad political instincts, as far as doing the wrong things, making the wrong decisions, taking, Wisconsin for granted. Like, they're trying to be relatable in the most awkward ways possible. It's just like there was so much that she did wrong, right? And so it feels like it's shaping up to be that again, because like I said, Biden's approval isn't great. Like it's not horrible, but it could be a lot better, right? For a president running for re-election, it should be like a legitimate vulnerability, but it's looking like it's not going to, because the candidate that he's going to run against is this guy. This guy who so many people have already made up their mind about in a bad way, right? Trump is in a position where I don't think that there's anything that he could do well, that he could succeed at, or that Biden could fail at, that would actually tip the numbers in Trump's favor. But we don't know if it'll be Trump, and we don't know if it'll be Biden. Those things are still up in the air, as much as people are talking about them now as if they're fait accompli. But yeah, if the election goes forward like this, it's pretty hard to imagine a Trump victory.
Indictments, and maybe there'll be more. I don't know. These people are crazy.
But they're counterproductive. So if you chart it out, it's an escalation, is what I'm saying. Yeah. So what's next after, try to put you in prison for the rest of your life? That's not working. So wait, don't they have to?
That's not working?
Like and subscribe.
He means it's not working politically, right? But I mean, it is pretty likely at this point that he'll be found guilty by one or more of these trials. And, I don't know. The question is, right? Because we know how the United States judicial system, the criminal system, treats people with money, treats people with influence, and especially treats people with the kind of political considerations that come with dealing with a defendant Donald Trump, right? So, I mean, people that are saying that they'll go easy on him in terms of the sentence and it'll be, something other than just a, prison sentence, right? You could be right. You could be right. It does seem like we're definitely dealing with a two-tiered system here, and he's got everything going for him, pushing him to the top of that top tier.
Kill you now?
I think the people of our country don't get enough credit for how smart they are. And I'm not sure I would have said this 10 years ago, but they get it. They really get it. When somebody gets indicted, your poll numbers go down. When somebody gets indicted, you announce, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be leaving to spend time with my family and to fight for the rest of my life on this stuff. But you're out of politics. I got indicted 4 times.
Yeah, and what he's done is what I was talking about earlier with the fact that Vivek cannot lose against CNN. Vivek is lying his ass off. It's really blatant. It's really obvious, but it's not going to cost him a single cent of political capital. In fact, it's going to gain him political capital because who's he up against? CNN, right? Donald Trump has done this to the court system, right? And I'm talking about with his people. I'm talking about with that 30% to 32%, right, of Americans that are just diehard Trump supporters, and there's nothing that's gonna change that, right? Those people now look at the courts as being all part of this great system that's against everything that's good, that's exemplified by Donald Trump, and right, the cult of Trump. The cult of Trump is gonna be made more resolute by indictments. But for people like you're talking about, Mossbergs, in terms of independents and moderates, it's not looking good. Yeah, a certain percentage of them are probably, are vulnerable to having their anti-establishment inclinations kind of weaponized in a way that covers up for what Trump has done, for Trump's crimes, and makes those look more political and more subjective and maybe biased or whatever. But it's not the majority of independents. It's not the majority of moderates that are gonna that are gonna look at it this way. So yeah, he is absolutely alienating the people that he needs to be able to win the election, that he cannot win from his very solid, very loyal, very cult-like, adoring following of the 30 to 32% of Americans. Let's call them the deplorables. Or no, wait, what was it that Ron DeSantis called them something? Does anybody remember? Ron DeSantis got in trouble recently for saying something about Trump, hardcore Trump supporters. He called them something. I can't remember.
I'll
find it for you.
Nonsense. Bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's horrible when you look and you look at what they're doing. the boxes hoax. I'm covered by the Presidential Records Act. I'm allowed to do exactly that. He's not covered, and he's got 25 times the number of boxes, and he's got them stored in Chinatown. He's got them stored in a flimsy garage underneath his Corvette at Penn. And by the way, at Penn, he gets millions of dollars. China pays this guy millions of dollars. See, I think he's the most corrupt president we've ever had. And he also has the distinction of being the most incompetent. And I believe both. I mean, he's both incompetent and corrupt.
Okay, so I got the, it's listless vessels.
We have a Manchurian candidate. And he's afraid to tell Russia to get out of Cuba. He's afraid to tell China to get out of Cuba. He's afraid.
Wait, he's too friendly with Russia?
China now is building, think of this. China is building military installations in Cuba. The Cuban population of Miami is not too happy because they're never going to be able to go back. And you don't even hear about it. And the worst culprit is the press, the media, because
when he says go back, he's talking about we're not going to have a counter-revolution that imposes capitalism on a people who overthrew that system. That's what he's saying.
Normally, you know, when I first heard that China's building installations in Cuba, and installations means military installations, okay, you know, they said just some communication. They did that on the islands with Japan. They took the island, they started this massive construction, and they told everybody, including the Japanese have to be very careful. They told everybody, but this is a housing development. They're going to build a housing development. And I said, how come the runway is 20,000 feet long? You know, private jets need 4,000 feet. They don't need 20,000 feet. The big ones need 20,000 feet. They don't even need 20. And I looked at the runway. I said, that's the largest runway ever built, both in width and length, for housing development. There's nobody that has a plane that big.
There's so many, like, if anybody's watching this and wants to take some stills of Tucker, like, just with particular emotions expressed on his face, like, I feel like he's so good when you make him laugh, like, right? He has so many goofy looks when he's laughing. I would massively appreciate that, because I need more faces for my thumbnails.
So we built a thing called the Panama Canal. We lost 35,000 people to the mosquito.
I really want him to say a man, a plan, a canal, Panama.
You know, malaria.
Yeah.
We lost 35,000 people building. We lost 35,000 people because of the mosquito. Vicious. They had to build under nets. It was one of the true great wonders of the world. As he said, one of the 9 wonders of the world. No, it was one of the 7. It happened a little while ago.
And Biden's the one that's like, we're worried about his cognitive.
You know, says 9 wonders of the world. You could make 9 wonders.
You could make 9 wonders if you wanted to.
He would have been better off if he stuck with the 9 and just said, yeah, I think it's 9.
Anybody, what is he talking about?
But this is one of the true 7 wonders of the world. And you take a look at the Panama Canal. It was such an incredible engineering marvel. We sold it under Jimmy.
Say it. Say the palindrome.
Carter. We sold it to Panama for $1. The following day, they quadrupled the amount of money that ships had to pay to get across. They didn't lose one ship. And now they've made it much bigger, and now they've widened it. They've doubled it, right? They've more than doubled it. And it's one of the most profitable things. Any time it's... Yeah,
the U.S. had the canal zone as a colony until like the late 70s.
It's just incredible, right?
Yeah, why did he say Carter? Did it go back to Panama under Carter? I don't think that's right. Didn't the United States control that area until like the 90s? So we're talking about the Panama Canal. If you don't know, it's like speaking of choke points, right? It's the only, was the first passage that was opened up, like to go from the Atlantic to the Pacific. So in other words, your problem, if you want to go from the Atlantic to the Pacific, is that there's North America, Central America, and South America in your way, meaning that you got to go like way to the north where it's super icy, or you got to go way to the south where, I don't know, I think there's like Moby Dick lives down there or something. I don't know. It's dangerous, right? There's an albatross. There's a Charybdis. There's dangerous stuff down there, apparently. Down in the if you go around the South American tip, right? But like realistically speaking, right, the Panama Canal is way quicker. It's like, it's like a little highway canal thing for boats. I'm over explaining this. It was fully returned in 1999. Yeah, so the United States basically just kind of came in there and they said, we're building a canal and there's nothing you could do about it. And this land that's right around the canal, this is our land. We're gonna occupy this. We're gonna put like, our dudes here. We're gonna put our dudes here. We put our little military dudes, little risk dudes, down there in the Panama Canal area, and basically controlled it until 1999 when it was fully returned. Because I mean, it is Panama. It's Panama. That's where we went to make the canal, and so it kind of makes sense that at some point the canal should go back to Panama. But apparently, not Trump. Trump wants to live in the world where we just keep controlling that area.
We gave it away for
maybe like should Britain just like retain Hong Kong and
$1? China now controls it. They actually control the Panama Canal. They run it, they control it, and we shouldn't let that happen. And we can't let China be in Cuba. And
we can't let China be in Cuba. Okay.
They'll get out. If I'm president, they'll get out. Because I had a very good relationship with President Xi, but he respected this country, he respected me, and he'll get out. And we can't let them run the Panama Canal. We built the Panama Canal. Should have never been given to Panama. We should have had it, but we gave it.
I mean, it's only the Panama Canal. Who wouldn't? Yeah.
For $1, think of it.
We took it for. Did we pay anything when we took it?
Quadrupled in one day. They lifted the fees, which are, pretty big, for these massive ships to go through, right? Rather than going around the Cape and through all the tremendous storms, such beauty, such
the albatross.
It's beautiful stuff. But
it's beautiful stuff, but you don't want to go around there. Like, let me tell you, that's the scenic route, okay? Down there underneath the tip of South America, it's very beautiful, but you don't want to go down there. You don't want to go down there. You want to take over Panama and just hold on to it. Just keep it.
I don't want to get caught in those storms. Those were storms that wiped out the biggest ships.
That is not the problem. The problem is the fucking extra travel time.
And we go through the Panama Canal. We built it, and we gave it away for $1. Think of that. How stupid are we? We have done the stupidest things in this country. And now we have a president that can't put two sentences.
Look, we have done some like not well-advised things in this country. If you want to talk about, which I will talk about, China gaining a foothold in South America, China gaining a foothold. I mean, he says in the Caribbean, right? But yeah, definitely, the reason that it's probably so easy for China to make deals is the way that the United States has conducted its foreign policy, right? You can look back to the Monroe Doctrine, which is an official doctrine of the United States military that's basically says South America is our backyard. Like, we call the shots there, right? And it's manifested in terms of countless coups and supporting dictators and really imposing a lot of misery on South America, right? If China's having an easy time, working with people down there, making deals with people, expanding its influence, I guess, like financially, is really what he's talking. He's acting like it's militarily, but I'm pretty sure it's financially, but like it's because of the United States' bad policy. Like, yeah, we have made bad decisions, just not the ones that you're saying. And something like hanging on to the Panama Canal and just saying, this is ours now, in perpetuity. This will always be ours. We came down, we took it. Just like that's like telling every country down there, yeah, that's the thing, is that like whenever there's something that you have that the United States wants, we're just going to come down and get it. And it's like, oh my God. This is the image that America has in the world right now.
Some oil. Hey bro, look at this beautiful developing country.
This is what happens when the United States comes to your country.
Bro, look, the border is open. Finally, we can come into...
Can't speak, can't walk, can't talk. I don't think he gets to the starting gate, but these people do miracles. I mean, he ran out of his basement, and you got away with that one because of COVID, so he sort of got away with it. They cheated on the election. But you have people that are very smart, but they're fascists and they're radical left lunatics, and they're destroying our country with the all-electric cars and the windmills all over the place, which, by the way, don't work, and they're all, most of them made in...
Yo, did he just call Elon a fascist? Actually, no, like oh, he's talking about windmills. He hates windmills. This guy has like a special thing against windmills.
China. For the most part, they're made in China. Germany a little bit, but China. But you look at what's happening to our country, even no voter ID. I mean, why don't they want voter ID? There's only one reason they don't want voter ID, because they want to cheat. I mean, who doesn't want, you know, the Democrat convention?
Who doesn't want less people to be allowed to vote? Who doesn't want to specifically filter out groups that would be less likely to have that kind of ID, right? Who?
The last one. They had voter ID that was...
They'll do, look, that's one of the ways they steal elections. Literally, that voter ID shit is one of the ways that Republicans steal elections. And I'm not saying steal election as in it's illegal, but I'm saying they use like legal means to ensure that they win an election. That's one of them. Gerrymandering is another one of those. I mean, there's so many anti-majoritarian tactics that the GOP takes to stay relevant, because honestly, demographically, they are going downhill. They are losing. They are aging out of the process. And the only way they can stay relevant and maintain some semblance of control is through all these kind of means. But yeah, thanks for reminding us, Trump.
This big, it looked like a prison card. This big on their chest. You walked in, they had your picture, your this, your fingerprint. They had everything. The most incredible voter ID I've ever seen. That was to get into the Democrat National Convention. But to get in to vote, if you buy groceries, if you buy practically anything now, you have ID on a card, credit cards or otherwise. And
credit cards do not work.
Don't you think it's racist to have to show your ID?
Well, they probably say that. They use anything not to show ID, because voter ID is pretty simple.
You use anything to deprive people that you know are going to vote largely against you the right to vote. And that's how you game the system.
We could go back, and we should go back to all paper.
And that's why you haven't become the regional party that you should be by now.
Ballots, voter ID, same-day voting. You know, France did it. France had mail-in ballots, and it was terrible. Anytime
it was terrible. Wait, why?
Anytime you have mail-in
because Le Pen didn't win?
Ballots, you're going to have massive cheating on your elections. Anytime, but not just the presidential election. Anytime you have...
Isn't that the whole point of them?
Yeah.
So you can cheat?
Oh, yeah, sure. It's their whole point. That's their whole point. They want to cheat.
The whole point is that we don't want to infect more people with a pandemic that's going around. No, Donald.
I met with the head of Whirlpool. They were practically going out of business during my administration. And they said to me, from Ohio.
Ohio.
Great state. I love Ohio. And
of course you would love Ohio.
they were really doing badly because people would...
Let's see that birth certificate. I bet this guy is secretly from Ohio. Do you want to start a conspiracy, chat? Let's start a conspiracy theory. Trump is lying about his birth certificate. He's not from New York. He's from Ohio.
Dumping washing machines all over, mostly from South Korea, but also from China. And he was explaining it's just a terrible situation. I said, let me ask you, how's the quality? He says, we're better, but they are good enough quality. But, you know, of course he's going to say that. But, you know, they are better. He said, but they don't allow us. They're dumping these machines. They're cutting us in half. They're killing us. And on top of it, the government won't...
Donald J. Trump is from Ohio.
Won't let us use
That's what we're
water
going
in our
with.
machines. I mean, he shows me like a quarter of a bottle of water.
Show your full birth certificate, Trump.
That's supposed to be washing clothing. And I freed it all up, and I put tariffs on these countries that were selling and the machines coming into the country.
That's New York.
And that company went from all the washing machine companies, they make washing machines, they make dryers, they make all of the different machines that do this kind of work, including dishwashers. And they went from a disaster area to being just thriving.
But can I ask
They
why,
love me in that part of Ohio.
Well, I bet they do, but why should EPA, no one at EPA was elected by anybody.
Yeah.
Why do they have the power
Oh,
to
you've
decide
already
how
got
much
Jim Jordan. That's true.
water your washing machine uses? Shouldn't Congress in a democracy get to vote on that?
Yeah, you could say that. They do things that are not very...
So how do you, that's my question. How do you, if you get elected again, go back to Washington, how do you keep the agencies under control? How do you
make sure that we can get poisoned by our own appliances more often, right? Because that's every American has the right to breathe air that's been polluted by their gas stove, right?
keep FBI and CIA specifically under control?
It's equivalent exchange, yeah,
The way
nice.
you do it, like I fired Comey, that was a big deal. You know, a lot of people said, and I fired him very early. Somebody said, oh, I wish you would have fired him. There was a real question about firing him anyway. You understand, because, you know, when they have a 10-year term, there is a question. I fired Comey. That was a great thing. If I didn't fire Comey, maybe I wouldn't be talking to you, or I'd be talking to you about real estate or something.
You'd be talking to him from behind bars.
Something else other than politics, right? That was a coup, in my opinion. That was a very sick deal. That was the insurance policy. You remember the insurance policy? Oh, she's going to win, darling. She's going to win.
Darling.
But just in case she doesn't, we have an insurance policy. Insurance policy was what
Who's the darling?
Were doing. And we caught them with that. That was a very important tweet or whatever it was, text. It was a big deal. That was a big deal. The insurance...
Anybody know what he's talking about?
Wisconsin, who, by the way, now agree with me, Wisconsin has been virtually...
I mean, they're still holding on to Ron Johnson, but...
Other than the fact they're not allowed to do anything.
Oh, did I say they're still holding on to Johnson? Jesus Christ.
Statutorily. But Wisconsin has been...
This is what you get when you get a late night NCC stream. Completely inappropriate. Talking about holding on to people's Johnsons.
I mean, what they found is incredible. I mean, we won Wisconsin. But Mike Pence had the right...
You're going to get reported to the horny police.
In my opinion, to send him back.
Do you ever talk to him now?
No, I haven't spoken to him in a long time. I was very disappointed in him. The rhinos got together with the Democrats, and they redid the election, so you couldn't do it anymore. So then I called the people. I said, so in other words, you're saying I was right. You could do it. Yes, you could do it. In other words...
constitutional crises like that are the things that, like, tear countries apart, right? So they clarified an uncertain...
They took the Voting Act and they redid it so the vice president no longer has the power to do what I said he could do.
So that you can no longer try to, like, literally physically threaten the vice president into doing what you want him to do, right? And we're going to find out more and more about this because new stuff has come out linking the Secret Service that works on behest of Trump with the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. Yes, there was communication between these organizations prior to January 6th.
So when that happened, I said, wow. So, and you know, you'd look some of these Democrats in the eye and they say, he has absolutely no right to do it. And immediately after the election, they met. Rhinos,
there's a lot of things. Okay, look, there's a lot of things that in the country that you either absolutely have the right to do, or that you theoretically could press your luck and constitutionally hope for a favorable Supreme Court, right? That would tear this country apart, and people don't do them because they would tear this country apart, right? Like not accepting the results of an election, for instance.
Democrats, and they approved legislation that takes away the right of the vice president to do it. So I said, so you're saying I was right. The vice president did have the right to do it. And they said, yes, he did.
So if you're saying they stole it from you last time, why wouldn't they do the same this time?
Oh, well, they'll try.
Yeah, so why should anybody vote for you? You gotta drop this loser mentality, right? You are gonna literally, like, that could be what loses you the election, right? That you seem like a sore loser, and that you are basically telling people that it's rigged. It's rigged against you. So why bother voting?
Be trying, yeah, and not only me. Look.
I mean, like, that's one of the conventions, right? Is that you don't do this sore loser shit and try to, claim legitimacy and press the point past, the statistical inevitability of the way that the votes are tabulated, right?
DeSantis is out. I think he's gonzo. He was at a level.
He's gonzo. Oh, gonzo. Okay, sorry. When he said gonzo, I was like,
people have figured him out. He's gone. But if somebody else got in, other than me, they'll go at him just as viciously as they did me. These people are sick. They will go after them. And a lot of people say they won't be able to hold up. I do get credit for holding up quite well, I must tell you. I think it's...
How do you do that? How do you get indicted, every week and stay cheerful?
I think it's a lot easier because I'm so high in the polls, because it means the people get it. The people see it's a fraud. The people see it. Like this horrible district attorney from just a little while ago, from essentially Atlanta, that's Fulton County. Are
we going to harness some racism?
Said basically, I don't have any right to...
Are we going to harness a little misogynoir tonight, Mr. Trump?
Election. Well, what about Stacey Abrams? What about Hillary Clinton? What about all of these Democrats that are still challenging my election? The same people that are saying he's challenging an election challenged my election. And they did it with...
Yeah, remember the time where the Hillbots, they got on their pussy hats and they invaded the Capitol? Remember that?
They did it with all sorts of things. They were very bad about it. But basically, they're suing me and they're saying you don't have any right to challenge it. If you challenge an election, we're going to indict you.
No, I think they're saying that you can't create a criminal organization to steal the election. I think that's kind of what they're saying.
Put you in jail. So what they're doing is they've weaponized, and don't kid yourself, the DOJ and Biden and the whole group, they're watching all of this stuff. They love the local stuff. The DA in Manhattan. Not only that, they put one of the DOJ top people into the Manhattan DA's office to run things. They don't even have a case against me. It's not even a case. Everyone says, even the Democrats say, you can't bring these cases. You have no case. The Attorney General or the District Attorney, Fannie Willis, in Atlanta, she's getting killed.
I mean, this is more of his pattern of intimidation. Yeah. I mean, that was a low key, you know what I mean? He's going to say, oh, I just mean she's getting people, getting roasted. She's getting cooked, right? But no, he said what he said for a specific reason.
Basically, she's saying Trump doesn't have the right to criticize an election. But you've been around long enough now. You've seen many elections criticized. I mean, Hillary Clinton goes crazy.
No, I mean, here's the thing. Contesting an election past the point where it's obvious to everyone, including members of your own circle, members of your own cabinet, members of your own team, that you've lost the election is not illegal to do. It's a really bad idea, and there's a reason that people don't do it, and there's a reason that people look down at somebody that does it, and there's a reason to call you a liar and sore loser and a million other things because of that. But that's not the part that's illegal. That's not the part that's illegal. The illegal part is setting up fake electors and trying to get them passed off as real electors. That, the criminal conspiracy is the real crime. It's not your, words.
Every time
it's not what you believed in or say that you believe in. Because I don't think he believes it. I really don't. Right, who was the guy that got told that Pence? It was Pence, I think, that Trump said you're too honest. When Pence wouldn't go along with it, Trump said you are too honest. All right, so what does that mean? It kind of says to me that he knows he's lying.
He talks. He says he's not the president. Jimmy Carter said he's not the president. Well, I am the president. Hillary Clinton called me, by the way, at 3:02 in the morning to congratulate me the night of the election.
Did her voice crack?
Well, her voice was, it's very different, I will say. I won't get into that. But
what do you mean?
Her voice was very different. Don't forget, they were all celebrating at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I came home and I said, I think we won. I felt we
were they celebrating? I'm trying to remember how this was, because it wasn't like they thought that they were going to win. The later it got, the more results came in, the more it was clear that Clinton would not be winning.
won because the rallies are so big. They
were really ready to have a celebration, though. They thought they were going to win.
We'd go to Wisconsin and we'd go to Georgia.
But I mean, generally, this is how those parties work, right? When there's an election, there's like a party at the campaign headquarters. You'll see it on the news sometimes. Let's go to McCain. Like, God, that's an old election. Let's go to the Biden, headquarters and see what's going on. Well, the mood is really good here, Jim. They're confident that having won the states that they won early, that they can go on to carry this, and this state and win the night. But of course, we won't know until the results are in. Back to you, Connie. Right? That's how it is. Right? It's.
We'll go to different states, and
so there's always like a party that like and they want to celebrate and they want to look confident and they want to, you know what I mean, project that they're the ones that are having a good time. But yeah, if they could sometimes end up a lot more confident early than they are later on.
Michigan.
Libs were celebrating hard, and then they were panicked and crying. I think didn't Chapo get like drunk during this?
We'd have rallies.
I remember Chapo didn't think that she was going to lose either, right? As much as Chapo, had a lot of reason to hate Hillary Clinton's guts, they did not think that she'd be losing to this guy. And it was like a moment when that dawned even on the Chapo. I mean, you could argue that like it's better for a satirical podcast if Trump wins, but I don't think they were really anticipating that happening.
In Pennsylvania, we had 58,000 people in Butler. And I said, how are we losing this? How do you have a rally where you have from 50 to 100,000 people, many of them? I did 7 a day for a couple of days. That's a lot. These are big rallies, too. And I didn't hold back. I didn't say, let's make them let's do abbreviations, right? But they challenged this stuff. Yeah. Hillary called me up and conceded. Now, the word is that Obama said you have to do that. But
like and subscribe.
She called up and totally conceded. But now, every time you see her on
source, I made it up.
Television, she's saying she's challenging the election.
Do you think
so? That would mean that she should be indicted, but that would mean
you get indicted for being a sore loser. No, you're not getting indicted for being a sore loser.
Also, that Stacey Abrams in Georgia should be indicted. Because she still thinks she won the election for governor. She still thinks that. She's never recanted. And
do you think Stacey Abrams will be indicted for that?
Wait, I don't think that Carrie Lake was indicted, right? There's a lot of people that claimed, to have won an election that they lost that are not getting indicted, right? You did something special. You're not getting indicted for being a sore loser.
No, of course not. She won't be. The Democrats don't get indicted for things like that. They don't get impeached. No, it's a different thing. With that being said,
yes,
I had great support when they did impeachment hoax #1 and impeachment hoax #2. Jim Jordan, the House was fantastic. And actually the Senate
Jim Jordan
was very good for me. Other than, Mitch McConnell, I think it's too bad I endorsed him. He was begging.
Carrie Lake has not been indicted.
And he was going to lose that race, and I endorsed him, and he ended up winning.
Just had every case thrown out of court, yeah.
Because of my...
Yeah, that's the thing, is you can lose, you can go to court, you can get thrown out, you can lie, and that doesn't get you indicted.
He was down, he was going to lose to Amy McGrath. She was $90 million in cash, all set to go. She was leading by 3. He was going down. I did him a favor, and then 3-4 months later, he really wanted to impeach me. He's a bad guy. But if you look at what's going on politically, it's so interesting. The level of loyalty is different in politics than it is in normal life, I will say. With that being said, I've had great loyalty also. But the House was fantastic. The Senate was very good. They overrode Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell, in my opinion, was trying to get senators to impeach me, especially for the second one. And on the first one, he acted very, very slow. He should have gone much faster. But Mitch McConnell wanted to, and the senators went up to him, guys that are subservient to him because he gives money. He gives them money. He gives them a lot of money. He raises some money and he gives it to them, and therefore they do what he said. That's the only form of
I remember the second impeachment, and I remember there being something about that where essentially there wouldn't have been time to really impeach Trump. Like, they could have voted for impeaching him, in the Senate, which meaning removing him from office. Now, I don't know that there were the votes to do that. I'm trying to remember how that even works. Is it 51? Or is it 67? I'm trying to remember. Is it a majority or a super majority to impeach the president? I think it's a super majority, right? Or it's at least like 60. But anyway, so yeah, there was talk of the fact that it just wasn't practical to do it. They wanted to bring, the impeachment almost to just, be like, we're not going to let him do January 6th and just completely, face no consequences. But yeah, there weren't really, as I remember, there wasn't really time for there to be consequences. It was so late in his 2/3. Okay.
leadership he's got.
So yeah, it wasn't gonna happen.
So last question, if you're elected president again, what's your number one priority?
I mean, if enough of the Republicans had decided that Donald Trump was a liability going forward, they probably could have impeached him. I just don't know would that have had any effect. I could see them impeaching him, right? Because you need it'd be 17. That's a lot of Republican senators. You need like 17 Republican senators to vote for impeachment, and you need all the Democrats to vote for impeachment. And yeah, I guess, if there had been, but still, like, that's not a majority of the Republican Senate caucus, right? So you could imagine a situation in which 17 Republicans vote for impeachment, Trump gets impeached, and it like kind of wait, you know what? Yeah, because if it can't happen, then there's no effect of that. It doesn't keep him from running for office again. Because like the idea of them doing that, of them going along with that impeachment, would be if the calculation was that Trump was so much of a liability to the Republican Party that they needed him to end as a factor. They needed him to no longer be in consideration. And I don't know if it actually would have had that effect. It might have had the opposite effect. It might have gotten, in fact, here's why I think like there's so much loyalty to Trump in the Republican Party, even among people who have not always liked him, even among people who did not want him to be the nominee, right? There is loyalty. It's fear. It's fear because that if you impeach the guy, and there's, 17 of you and then 23, 24, 25 Republican senators that are against the impeachment, you're going to lose your primary. You're going to lose your position on the committee. You're going to lose everything.
When you ran last time, you said, I will build a wall. This time,
look at what happened to Liz Cheney.
Your bottom line top promise to the country.
So you can do numerous things at the same time.
Of course.
But let's say number one is a border. And
didn't you say that last time? Oh my God. How are they taking him seriously? I think they forgot about the wall.
Hundreds of thousands of criminals that have been allowed into our country and getting them out and bringing them back to their country, Guatemala. By the way, not only the 4 countries that we think of as neighbors, all over the world. Last month, we had 149 countries represented. Think of it. We had 149 countries represented, Tucker, and from places that many people never even heard of.
Am I supposed to be impressed?
Coming into our country. And they're coming in from mental institutions.
They're coming to America.
They're coming in from prisons. They're emptying out their
prisons. They're emptying out. They're coming. No.
All over South America. They're emptying out their mental institutions. Terrorists are pouring into our country. We have no idea. I had the strongest.
Oh my God, he's trying to recapture that 2016 magic again. I feel like he can't do it. I feel like it's been said.
Border in the history of our country. And I built almost 500 miles of wall. They like to say, oh, was it less? No. I built 500 miles. In fact, if you check with the authorities on the border, we built almost 500 miles of wall. And I had another 200 that I was going to build. It's like water. It seeks.
It seeks. Wait, what? The fence?
And we're going to build another 200. We built it. It was all set to go. All they had to do was install it. It would have taken 3 weeks. And that's when I found out. I said, I think these people actually want open borders. The first thing I would do would be I would seal up the border good and tight, except for people that want to come in legally.
Do you think we're moving towards civil war?
There's tremendous passion and there's tremendous love. You know, January 6th was a very interesting day because they don't report it properly. I believe it was the largest crowd I've ever spoken before. And you know some of the crowds I've spoken before. And like July 4th on the mall, I think they had 1 million people there. But I think that the biggest crowd I've ever spoken before was on January 6th. And people that were in that crowd, very, very small.
Including Q Shaman. Let's not forget Q Shaman, the leadership of the Proud Boys and 3%ers. Nick Fuentes was there, yeah.
Group of people, and we said patriotically and peacefully and patriotically, right? Nobody ever says that. Go peacefully and patriotically.
Nobody ever said, if they said that at the George Floyd protests, then he wouldn't have any problem with, no.
People that were in that crowd that day, very small group of people went down there, and then there were a lot of
Oh yeah, Baked Alaska was there. Was Catboy Kami there? I think Catboy Kami was there.
But people in that
who, by the way, is still racist. I found out recently. Catboy Kami is still racist. Imagine that.
Said it was the most beautiful day they've ever experienced. There was love.
Racist Catboy.
In that, there was love and unity.
And racist Catboys.
I have never seen such spirit.
There was love and unity for the white race, you know.
Such passion and such love. And I've also...
Yeah, there was a lot of love. You could tell that the gallows that they built, right, with the name Pence written on them, those were definitely built with love, yeah?
I've never seen simultaneously and from the same people such hatred of what they've done to our country.
So do you think it's possible that there's open conflict? We seem to be moving towards something.
I don't know, because I don't know what it, you know, I can say this. There's a level of passion that I've never seen. There's a level of hatred that I've never seen, and that's probably a bad combination.
Donald Trump, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Thank you.